we love to nerd out on. I just kind of figured I was the only one. And I will say this was a time that I had like deleted Facebook and didn't have Instagram, so I was in total hermit mode. But something funny happened in March of 2020 when they all told us that we need to stay away from each other. And for a minute there, I'm like, I'm okay with this. Because again, I was still kind of peopled out. But about midway into summer, I was like, something about this doesn't feel right. Started to hang out with we had a little kind of gardening, Burwell Gardens, gardening collective, community garden nearby. And I was doing some work work with Brenna Wright, who runs Old City Gardens. And also she's out in Greenback on Blue Stem Hollow. So I was gradually starting to find folks who were also into this nerdy stuff. And we could talk about soil and plants and systems and poop and all that good stuff. And it was around this time that, I should say, so I've been off the ambulance for a while. I was volunteering and kind of doing my own thing during kind of the shutdown period that we endured. And conveniently, in a way, I was laid off. I was basically working just little 9-to-5 jobs after I left the ambulance, not really knowing what I wanted to be doing next. And the time I was laid off, I just kind of thought, well, this is clearly an opportunity. So this dog, it's great. I've been hanging out. I was of the mind that I knew I wanted to create some kind of business on my own, but I didn't exactly know what that looked like. And I had been over to the Knoxville Entrepreneurship Center, which if you have not done that, do it. They're associated with the Chamber of Commerce. They have programs to kind of help you, they call it co-starters. They will help you with idea generation, with some of the basic paperwork and whatnot, if you're wanting to go that entrepreneurial route. And I had this idea that, because I was into homesteading, I thought, well, maybe other people want to see other homesteads, and I can set up like a tour system. And I kicked that around for a while, and I discussed it with my mentor over there. And she said, it's a good idea, but, it's going to take some startup capital, and, there's some liabilities, stuff like that. She's like, why don't you just teach people what you're already doing? At this time, on the farm, or on our little urban homestead there, I had every inch of space that didn't need to be a path was growing animals or growing food on a 1/5 acre lot. So just because this was my hobby and this was my stress relief, I just kind of took it for granted, but it turns out that people want to be taught about this stuff. So I realized that I had an opportunity to hang out amongst people in the urban and suburban spaces and help dispel the myth that you can't grow food unless you have something like this. I wouldn't want to manage anything of this size. Now, I'm on a larger spot now, but still nothing like this. So where this all kind of ties into community was I realized I was not going to be able to pull any of this off if I insisted on remaining a hermit. So let's see, at this point we're in about late April of 2020. Some of the kind of like lockdown stuff, whatever, starting to ease off. People are starting to get back out. People are starting to see what they want to do that summer. And I had been picking up just yard jobs, yard work, mowing, things like that. By the end of that summer, I had something like 30 yard customers just in my old neighborhood alone. So I had the finances taken care of, at least for that time of year. And I went looking for other gatherings, for events and classes and things of that nature. Found out about the Living Free in Tennessee spring workshop put on by a lady named Nicole Sauce. Living Free in Tennessee is also a podcast, highly recommend it, targeted towards homesteaders and permaculturists. And she was looking for basically volunteers in exchange for tickets. My wife and I went out there, and suddenly it was like, oh, here's my people. One of the first groups of many of groups that are my people now. And it was such a relief to be in a space where everybody was focused on doing. It's not that we didn't, we talked about things. We have good conversations, valuable conversations, but that particular group, it spawned off multiple other groups, big and large, tiny I mean, people have, built all kinds of relationships from this one workshop based off of one lady's podcast. She gets around 2,500 downloads a week. I mean, it's pretty, we're not talking huge Joe Rogan stuff, but we got together, pulled off this workshop, had a great time, ate good food, had all kinds of classes, and around the end of that workshop, I was looking for, we were in the midst, at this point, June of 2020, we're in the midst of, we've decided to sell the house in the city. And we want to get back on our family land in West Knox County. But I felt like that was really insurmountable because we were going to do off-grid energy. We already realized that was going to make more financial sense. I needed help, and I just didn't know enough at the time. So Sean Mills, who runs a website and a consulting company called Hack My Homestead, he said, hey, I'll design your solar system. Fill out this form for me. Tell me the details I need to know. And he puts together everything into an invoice and says, order this and let me know when it's going to ship. And we'll have people come out and we'll put it all together. So in April of 2021, suddenly I've got about 25 people. Some I haven't even met before. We just put out the call and had 8 or 9 hours. And I go from cabin where I'm running off a generator to 1.5 watt or kilowatts of solar generation, battery bank, all that good stuff. Because I put myself out there, because I was looking to exchange value with people. So what's interesting about a lot of these gatherings is, with the exception of somebody like Ben, maybe Shauna, I bet a lot of us are introverts. If you had to be told, hey, you can hang out here in the woods by yourself, or you have to go talk to this crowd of people, what you're going to choose. And I know where I'd be. And I'm going to be in the woods tomorrow after hanging out with you guys. But what I discovered was that I had come to the incorrect conclusion that being around people was exhausting. It was that I was around the wrong kind of people. So I'm sure y'all can relate. So I am just so thrilled to have yet another group of people where we can come together and we can make stuff happen. So I'm just going to throw out, if I can find on my notes real quick. Thank you, guys. I had a feeling y'all would relate. So I've spoken to a lot of groups in a lot of areas at this point, and we kind of keep coming back to that. So I'm just going to give like a quick, almost play-by-play of what has happened since I decided that I don't hate people anymore. So, and I'm going to forget some. So if you're here and you're like, Kerry, I helped you with, and I hooked you up. I'm sorry, I forgot. But I've got a few here. So, since we got folks here, Ben and Shauna and I went up to BFE Hancock County to help some friends and members of our community put together part of a yurt. Oh, David too. David helped. I'm sure I'm forgetting. Don't take offense. And we did some framing for a yurt deck. I had a customer, an elderly customer, who needed a house sitter. I knew Shauna wasn't tied to a homestead, and she likes animals, and she's trustworthy, so my customer, who is elderly and at risk for being taken advantage of, which was my concern, now has a trustworthy house sitter when needed. We held the first portion of a permaculture design course in April of 21, April, May, somewhere around in there. March, it was cold still. Ben hooked me up with the instructor who was doing that. One of the ladies who was a student of the class, Cassie, introduced me to a lady, Lizzie, who introduced me to a group called CHIO, which is a holistic health kind of organization. And I think I have like 5 consulting clients off of that. I found a wonderful direct primary care physician. I found a wonderful chiropractor for this 40-year-old body that I've not taken very good care of. And people in CHIO referred me to folks at the Patriot Church, where I gave classes over there on small-scale gardening. More connections, more, People say if you start a business, do a mailing list. I'm like, there's no way I'm going to get anybody on this mailing list. This is crazy. In 2 years, I've got almost 200 people. And that's not because people are finding my website through SO or SEO. They're finding me and they're meeting me. Or they're meeting somebody who knows me. And I'm able to reach out now to larger and larger groups. Bruce Bagwell, we traded rams, as he mentioned earlier. If you need me and Bruce to catch your ram. Bruce was better at it than I was. That was a good time. I was tired that night. Yeah. Let's see, I might have a couple more here. One more, not anybody who's here, but because we have, I should mention, we have quarterly gatherings on our farm in Knox County. Feel free to hop on the mailing list or get a card from me today. The next one will be on December 3rd. But I put a call out on the large East Tennessee homesteading Facebook group. There's like 15,000 people on it. One of the ladies who responded, I just said, hey, we're having this gathering. We're going to have some drinks, some food. We're going to hang out. I'll show stuff. And she said, hey, I'm your neighbor, and we're getting ready to buy property that's at risk of becoming a subdivision just a mile down the road. I should mention, we're in West Knox County, so we are completely hemmed in by suburbia. So my family's land is one of the last that is not gobbled up by Ball Homes or Smith Build or any of those other developers. And so it turns out that this lady, whose name is the same as mine and spelled the same way, she lives in the neighborhood that borders our western field. Like she could see our fields from her house. And she's like in this neighborhood with this HOA and all these rules, and she's like trying to keep her chickens all hidden. She's doing all this cool stuff, and they were in the process of buying some acreage just down the road. I'll go to events in Camden, Tennessee, towards the western end of the state, and I'll meet people who are 10 miles from me all the time, every single time. So, number one, don't assume. I mean, you guys know we have community here, and we're working on building it all the time. It takes effort. It takes being willing to exchange value, to be a little bit uncomfortable. Have I gone out and helped people on days where I really didn't want to? No, I didn't really want to go sometimes. There's, Andy and Craig are great, but it's like 2.5 hours to get up there because there is no straight road. But you know what? As soon as I get up there, I'm like, man, I'm glad I'm doing this. We're having a good time. I got a great photo of me and Bruce hoisting like this giant, it was like 3 2x12s nailed together. I mean, it builds memories and stuff. So, and I'm going to thank Bruce one more time. I've got consulting customers who wanted to know more about sheep. I didn't have sheep yet. So while I can consult with people, what I really like to do is find people who are already doing the thing and say, let's go meet this person who's doing the thing. So he just graciously, showed his system to these folks, and they're 100 times more comfortable taking that step forward now. We've got, so I have a carbon problem. Does anybody else have a carbon problem? I can never get enough. Just when I think I have enough carbon, I want more carbon. It is a quick PSA. It is carbon season. People in suburbia are putting leaves in bags and they are putting them on the curb. If you have a truck or a trailer or, pull the kid's car seat out and stuff them in the back seat. I don't care. Go get the leaves. I made a trip the other day. I'm going to make another one tomorrow. It's worth a couple of gallons of gas. But because I want to do a lot of really large-scale composting up there, and leaves are one of the easiest ways, and they're light, they're easier to move. So I put the call out to, like on Nextdoor and Facebook, and said, hey, if you set out your leaves, just shoot me a text or email me. I'm going to come pick them up, free of charge. If you're within 3-4 miles of the house, I'll do that. A fella answered that ad, and he said, hey, I run West Knox Leaf Removal Service. He's got the vacuum truck and all that good stuff. He said, can I bring you some leaves? And then I don't have to pay the city to dump them. I said, yes. And like, do you have a preferred beverage or a snack that I can have ready for you? And it's funny, like, we've been coordinating this, and he brought me a load today while I'm out here. I haven't actually met him face to face yet, because every time he's been out, I've been away. But my wife met him, and it's like, just this great young man, like doing the entrepreneur thing, just, because his thing was, it's crazy that people throw this away and this goes in landfill. So he wants to divert, and I was like, I'll do you one better. You bring them for free, and you're not paying $40, $50 a ton to ditch them over at the recycler. So I'm going a little bit fast, but I don't think anybody will mind if we have a little more free time. So to kind of wrap up a little bit here, I'm definitely still an introvert. but I realize that I receive a positive energetic exchange when I'm around folks like you guys. This is, I had this idea of kind of like tying all this together into like each principle of permaculture, and I kind of ran out of time because I wasn't managing it very well, but this is a big part of it. This is like, obtain a yield. Like this is, these kind of interchanges, these kind of relationships, we're obtaining a yield, and we are, I mean, if you think about it, if you think about your 12 principles, all this comes down to relationships, and all this can be tied directly into your lifestyle. So,
Kerry, you have tons of time.
Okay, well, we might Q&A or whatever, whatever.
Yeah.
So, I would encourage you, because I've got, I love these graphics of the 12 permaculture principles. There's like the flower version and everything. I like to refer to that all the time and think about how, not just like how I am doing my systems on the farm, but how I can actually live these principles and kind of integrate them more wholly into how I do things. So that said, I go to several events a year. I do have to kind of psych myself up a little bit, but each one gets a little bit better. It gets a little bit easier for me. I find that it's a little less stressful, a little less work, comes a little more naturally, and this business and my success would not be anything near where it is if I had not just pushed myself to get out there. So that's kind of my encouragement for you guys. Show up, exchange value. I don't want to hear from anybody, I have nothing to give. That's BS. Everybody's got something worthy. Everybody knows something I don't. Come in there with an abundance mindset, with a mindset of wanting to learn and grow. And here's the cool thing: we don't have to agree about everything. I'm pretty apolitical. Like I don't give an F about whatever's happening in Washington or even in Nashville. I care about what's going on with you guys. I want to help you guys. That's where real change takes place. So if we're able to kind of set aside those kind of issues, we're going to get a lot further. Going back to my days working on the ambulance, I've been in opulent homes, or at least as opulent as you can find in Knoxville. I've been in houses that literally had a dirt floor. I have delivered a baby in a multi-million-dollar home. I have delivered a baby on that dirt floor. That is truth. And I've pulled them out of beautiful but wrecked cars. I've pulled them out of beater wrecked cars. I've watched them kill themselves. Whether they had all the money or no the money, none of the money at all. So what I came to discover is that everybody wants the same thing. They want their own version of freedom to conduct their lives. They want to experience the world, and they want to build connections. And when those things are missing, that's when we have an ill society. So I just finished Joel Salatin's new book. It's called Homesteading Tsunami. Great book. It'll if you don't already have a fire lit under your rear end, that'll do it. And he says that, he kind of alludes to the key that is rebuilding our society. He says it's mighty hard to dislike someone when you're engaged in sweating out a project together. We can build fences alone, but it sure is less of a chore when you've got an extra pair of hands who are steadying the post. So that's kind of my vision for how I would like to see our community and our society move forward. There's other people out there, they can do their thing. We know what our thing kind of looks like. So I'm looking forward to building it with you guys.